What are you doing at the end of the world here? I mean that jokingly, but only so much. This thing has taken forever. I did an earlier stream. I had this running, and I think at the beginning of the earlier stream, I had one here. Well, it had dropped down, so I had one I could break up, one I could break up, one I could break up, and I think it was like damn near an hour stream. I think it's been at least an hour from that stream to where I'm going on now, and literally, it's grown one more. It's not growing real fast, but I'm not gonna. I got it set up. These things can grow. I don't know how far they'll actually grow, but these things can go down quite a ways. And so I'm not gonna break them off until since it's all automated from this point. The collection system's automated. I'm not going to break them off till I got at least five, because with five I can pop a new cube in and put a stickle on, a sickle on it, and yeah. Um, I what I'm going to be talking about here, I don't consider this political, but I wanna be clear. I'm going to be talking about foreign policy and some other stuff. And it's not going to be your normal UFO stuff. At least some of it. I'm just gonna. I didn't take notes. I didn't watch anything. So I'm gonna talk about stuff that's going on in the news. Feel free to just not hang out here if that's not your cup of tea. I just want to be honest and upfront about it. But some of this stuff I don't like. I don't consider climate change political. Um, I don't consider gun violence political. When you've got kids getting killed in a school, I don't consider that political. I don't. I'm never gonna. Oh, excuse me. And I'm just never gonna find that political. I'm just not. And there's a lot of people out there, and a lot of it, I think they're finding it political just so they don't have to talk about it. Might not. Yep. Okay, it lets me. I'm gonna get a couple crackers. I there's people out there, and they do it. They just, and I can't remember the issue. They recently just did it. They did it with the Iraq War. They do it with gun violence. And there was something recently where what they do is they did it with the Iraq War. They're like, well, they would tell, like, when reporters would ask them questions, if people asked them questions at the town hall, the Republicans would be like, well, we just got attacked. We're trying to figure out what we can't talk about it now. And then so when we were getting ready for war, we couldn't talk about it. And then when we were in the middle of the war and we were watching the war crimes go on, the violence, the stupidity, the fucking skidfuls of money that were just vanishing. Well, we're in the middle of the war. We're in the middle of the war. What kind of an asshole are you? We can't talk about this because we're in the middle of the war. And at a certain point, first journalist, and I'm not saying he is the first journalist I heard talk about it was Chris Matthews on MSNBC. He's like, look, we couldn't talk about it before the war. We can't talk about it now because we're in the war. And he goes, I know what they're going to do. He goes, as soon as the war's over, they're going, well, we can't talk about it now. What's the point? It's over. You know? And the Republicans did the same thing with the impeachment. They didn't want to impeach President Trump because, They didn't want to impeach President Trump while he was president. They didn't want to impeach President Trump because we were in the middle of the COVID pandemic or whatever the fuck their excuse was. And then after January the 6th, they wanted to impeach him. And if they'd have done that, I think they would have. If they would have done that, and the Republicans would have, basically supported their country and not their party, which they didn't. They did not support their country in that. The evidence in the first one was overwhelming. There was a senator, and my brother was a fucking idiot on this. She was asked about it, and she said, "Well," she goes, "I'm gonna wait for the evidence. I'm going to wait and see how he responds to it and make up my mind." But she said, just what we know in public, she goes, "I don't know what they're going to show us in Congress," but she goes, just what we know in public, she goes, the evidence is pretty overwhelming, and, you can't just go in there like he's doing now. Oh, the judge did this, the judge did that, and the judge didn't. And go and make up stuff about clerks, attack the prosecutors, attack the police, attack the judges. At a certain point, and the impeachment was the same way. Look, you can go on TV and lie all you want, but like the other side was showing factual evidence. And there were Republicans who were like, well, what good does it do to impeach him now? He's already out of office. They didn't want to impeach him while he was in office. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this while he's in office. And now they don't want to bring charges. They didn't want to impeach him, when he did the crimes. They didn't want to impeach him after he left office. Well, now that they're prosecuting, they're like, oh my God, you just need to pardon him and we'll move on and heal. You know what? I'll heal just fine when they put his ass in jail. If he commits suicide because he's getting raped in prison, I'll heal just fine. I will. It's like this is fucking bullshit. And that's just the way it is. Oh, this stream was brought to you by RC Cola because they were what was on sale at the grocery store when I was buying pop that day. They are not really sponsoring me. This is just what I bought, but I'm not joking about that. It was what was on sale that day, and I drank it growing up, and I have no idea. I have no idea if the folks did it because it was cheaper then. Like when it was on sale, that's what we got. I really don't know, but they had. And again, I'm not trying to be mean, but the Republicans, or not the Republicans, the Democrats are talking about how good the economy is. Well, I know what pop and food cost, a rough idea. Like I could go in and buy a certain amount of food. I kind of buy similar stuff most weeks. I could go buy that stuff when my mom was alive, after she died, and I know roughly what would be spent in a week's worth of groceries. And, it's like, yeah, the prices have not come down. Pop is still fucking expensive. If you catch it on a sale, the meat can be reasonably good. Like the one grocery store, Century, I don't go there all because most of their prices are just too fucking ridiculously high. But you can go there, and it's the stuff that they've made up that they got to get rid of, and it is it's marked down. But it's like, yeah, a lot of this stuff just is not, because it used to be you could get a case of Pepsi, I want to say, for when it was on sale, when it was marked down, you could get it for like $8 or $9 for a case. And then it was right before my mom died. I'd say it was the last half a year that she was alive. Then it went up to where it was like $10, $11 for a case. And you can still get it cheaper across town, but I don't always feel like driving that far. But what they did is they had it jacked up where it was like, I want to say it was like 12 and a half, 13 and a half bucks for a case. So it's like a buck more, and that's up. It hasn't gone back down to its pre-inflation prices. And and then that day I'm like, well, I'm not getting that, so I figured I'd look at 2 liter bottles. They weren't fucking on sale. Those were like, $2-3 a piece, and it's like I ain't getting that. And the one time I went, they had I think it was the 16 or the 20 ounce bottles. They had them, and according to the little sticker on it, they were the cheapest ones per ounce. But you had to buy 4 of them to get them on sale. So I bought 4 of those, and I'm still working on those. And then the next time I went, they had the RC. If you bought 3, you got them for 15. Well, that's $10 for a case. So I got 3 of those and brought them home, and I'm still working on the last one. This was a couple weeks ago. Well, the last time I went, and it's in the fridge right now, they actually had the case of Pepsi back down for 10 something. Again, it hasn't dropped back down to its normal sale price, but it's at least come down. But yeah, I'm working on my third 12-pack of RC because of that. And but no, but they do that shit. And they did it with the war. They like to do it with the school shootings. It's like, oh my God, it's just too soon. It's just too. Those kids were just killed. Those people at the nightclub were just killed. No, it's never too soon to talk about dead kids. It's never too soon to talk about dead kids. Shame on you for saying that. It's never too good to point, or never too early. It's never too soon to point out that one party in this country seems to be just fine that we're murdering kids. All in the name of people with small penises that want to own guns. It's disgusting. It really is. And Chris Matthews, he said, well, look, I get it. We can't talk about the war before the war starts. We can't talk about it. He goes, and I know what they're going to do. As soon as the war's over, they may go, what's the point of talking about it's over? And he goes, if we can't talk about it today, he goes, you give me a day in the next 2 weeks when we can, and I will be there. He goes, I will meet you there. But he goes, until then, you can shut up, and we're going to talk about it on my show tonight. And, but again, they just do this shit. They just do this shit all the time. And so I don't know. It's disgusting. Well, one of the things that they've been talking about on MSNBC, and I'm not saying they're the only ones doing it, they're the only ones I know that are doing it, is the one is General Barry McCaffrey. He's a retired 4-star general. I like him. I don't. It's not that I don't believe him, but I like him. And I rarely, if ever, find him uncredible. I don't think I've ever found him to be uncredible. He seems to be very knowledgeable. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of Jimmy Stewart, man. But I don't mean that in a bad way. I dearly love that actor. I love his movies, from The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance and a whole bunch of other shit. And he did this, I want to say either last week or the week before, where he was talking about the stuff that the Trump administration is doing is very like Nazi Germany. The calls for violence, the inciting the mob mentality, and this is one of those things, hey, it's finally okay to bring up the Nazi reference because historically it's true. And I don't know if I had anything to do it, but I pointed out to MSNBC that, you guys need to start talking about this because I was reading, and I don't know if it was in Playboy magazine or online, but I read an interview uh, years ago, probably like 10, 15, 20 years, and every now and then, especially with what's going on, every now and then when I'm having a clear-headed day, like today is so far, I think about it. And the the he was asked, he was talked about, he was he was a German guard at one of the concentration camps. He might have been at the biggest concentration camp, but they got interviewing him, and I think they asked him this, like, what was the worst thing about being a guard there? And the thing he said was, he goes, I think at least once every day, usually more, but at least once every day, I think, uh, some Jew would confront me and ask how we could do this to them. They would literally ask how we could do this to them. And he finally snapped the one day. He said he finally snapped on one of the prisoners, and he said, for 10 years, we told you what we were going to do, and you let us. For 10 years, we told you what we planned on doing, and you let us. And people were pointing out stuff online about things the MAGA crowd and others are saying. And I kind of mentioned that to MSNBC. I'm like, you know what? You guys need to start speaking out on this, because I go, they're telling us what they're going to do. Trump is telling us that, hey, he's got people, they might rise up again. They might. I go, after Pizzagate, after January 6th, after all the horrible things that have been done violently on the right, whether it was the abortion shootings, whatever, you have to understand that just like in World War II, there are some things that should just not be acceptable speech. It just shouldn't. And this is not the Bill Maher thing where they're talking about, oh, well, you used to be able to do this, you used to be able... Look, I'm sorry, but when you have people going and shooting up schools, when you have people going... And this, I think, was actually a good thing, if they would have learned from it. But when you had that one nut job that showed up and started shooting up Congress's softball game, there were Republicans that got shot up that day. Well, you know what? Good. Because until them dumb fucks have to live in the world they created, this never gets better. This is why Trump, his co-conspirators in and out of Congress, his co-conspirators in the judiciary, his co-conspirators in the military, law enforcement, every branch of government, whether it's state, county, federal, all of these fuckers need to be held accountable, or it doesn't get better. If he gets to go to Club Fed, if he does not go to a real prison, this will happen again. As long as he's given any special treatment, because you hear these things. Well, at first it was like, well, he just shouldn't be charged. Just like Nixon, they need to pardon him, and we just need to move on so we can heal. See, they did that with Reagan. They did that with George H.W. Bush. They did that with Bush Jr., Bush 43. And that was the Republican mantra, and we saw what it did. Every couple years, it got a little worse. Every couple years, got a little worse. And they don't learn. They locked up a bunch of the Iran-Contra criminals, And I was a member of the family, but there was actually some dumb fuck Republican. They're like, well, I don't see what the big deal was. They just sold arms. I go, it was illegal. That's what the big deal is, you know. And this was back. I don't even think it was the 80s. I think it was the 90s, but it was in like the 90s where you had these people acting like we only have to follow the law when it's a Democrat. That was a thing. And that it was literally came out of a fucking military member in my family talking about the criminals in that. And the other thing we heard back then was, well, you know, they had legal advice. We heard that with the war crimes under Bush, you know, under Bush the second. They're like, oh, well, you know, they had a legal memo. I don't give a fuck. Take it up with that lawyer. Have him disbarred. You guys committed war crimes. I don't care if you got a legal memo or not. Those people in the administration should have been sent to the Hague and I don't know if it's too late. I don't think it is because some of those Germans, they were putting them on trial when they're in their 90s. They should literally start sending like, hey, send that memo fucking writing guy over there. Send him over. I don't know if you can send Bush because I think he was out of the loop. I honestly don't think he knew. I don't think he started taking over. Like whenever they put Secretary of Defense Gates in there and he started cleaning up shit, that's when I think Bush started taking a role in it. Up until then, I think Cheney and Rumsfeld were doing it, the fucking Nixon boys. You know, and you know that was another thing, that Valerie Plame. You know, they actually put that one guy in jail, Scooter Libby. That's a bad nickname to have when you're going to prison, Scooter, because everybody's gonna want to ride that new scooter in prison. And but they talked to members of the jury, and they said that most. I don't know if they said all. But they talked to some members of the jury, and they said most of the people were in there, maybe all of them, but I don't remember if they actually said all. They go, the evidence we looked at, they said we honestly believe that he deserved to go to jail, but they said most of the people, if not all of them, couldn't understand why Karl Rove and Dick Cheney weren't in there because they were just as connected to the evidence that put Scooter Libby away. And they said, they go, we don't understand why the others weren't in there. And, you know, and then you look at the Bush administration or Trump administration. These are people that likely should be up for war crimes too. You had people that were convicted of mistreating people. I don't know if it was technically considered war crimes, but Trump pardoned them. That should be war crimes. You take a look at a lot of these people, and some of them were not in Washington. Some of them were at the state level. These are people that should be charged with the murders of all the people who died with COVID. Your journalists should. It's coming out now that some of these Fox depositions. You take that Kraken lady, Sidney Powell. She actually said in court, well, she goes, well, nobody in their right mind should have believed me. That's how she was trying to get out of accountability for what she did in court. And she literally said that nobody in their right mind should believe me. Some of these Fox News people, you get the depositions, you get the memos, you get the behind-the-scenes stuff where they weren't in front of a mic. They didn't believe the shit they were, maybe not all of them, but most of them, they didn't believe the shit that they were peddling. They really didn't. And they should be held accountable for that. They really should. When you've got some of these horrible things that Trump is saying about the justice system, witnesses, he should already be in jail. You know, you take a look at that reality winner now. She's not a Snowden. And I don't think this is something you can honestly be a good American and disagree with me on. Maybe I'm wrong. But like Snowden is a guy that I firmly believe belongs to be in jail. I believe that he should be, if he ever comes back, he should be tried with a fair trial. I believe a fair trial will put him away likely for the rest of his life, and I'm okay with that. And the thing I'll say about that is he had the ability to just talk about the government spying on us illegally. They were doing it without warrants. He could have done. I think that's the guy. I might have the wrong guy, but I think that's what he was nailed for. And I firmly believe that he could have done that. And then again, maybe he would go to jail, but I would basically feel that maybe you could make an argument that he doesn't deserve jail or he deserves a pardon or some shit like that. Because he could have. He could have just went in and talked about what they were doing illegally towards us. But what he did is he dropped everything. He told sources and methods. He outed the fact that we were spying on other countries. Now, this is a thing that these countries do to us. We spy on them, they spy on us, so on and so forth. He weakened us. He did the same thing that Cheney and Scooter Libby and Karl Rove did, and others in the Bush administration when they outed that CIA officer. They weakened our national security by doing that. People that had helped us were probably eliminated or locked up or just made to disappear. And they did that to us. You know, Snowden did that to us. I can't give him a pass for that. I don't think any good American can give him a pass for that. But you take Reality Winner, she is in a different category. And again, I could be wrong in this. I really don't think I am. This is a girl who saw Trump and others lying every day. They were saying that Trump did not coordinate with Russia. Trump was not involved with Russia. And she saw classified information almost every day that said he did. Factual, honest to goodness evidence. And she didn't think it was right, you know, as a good American. She didn't think it was right that he was, you know, he collaborated with Russia. He sold us out to Russia. We knew that he was lying, but yet he was getting to lie on TV. So she leaked like one set of information to let the world know that Trump was a lying-ass dog, a lad. She in her own way, now it was illegal, but in her own way, she tried to help us, which is more than you can say for FBI Director Comey. Comey exposed a whole bunch of stuff on Hillary that turned out to not be chargeable. It was nothing she did wrong legally. And that's all he should have done. He was warned. And if the Attorney General would have had any guts, she'd have fired him for that back then. But she didn't. She was not a Janet Reno. She was more like a Holden or a Garland. And she didn't fire him, but she let him know. You know, hey, you're not the Deputy Attorney General anymore. You're the FBI Director. FBI Directors don't do that. You know, she kind of let him know, you know, you go out there and you just say that we don't have anything to charge her with and you let it go. Well, he went out there and, oh, well, I don't think she did this right and that right. Well, you know what? Hillary could have went out there and said, well, you know, I don't think you did enough foreplay on your wife. I don't think you gave your wife enough gifts. I don't, you know, and if she would have known, but he kept it quiet, she could have went out and basically did a whole thing on him like, well, you know, it was wrong for, you know, she didn't know. But, you know, now she could go out there publicly and she'd go, you know, I don't think it was right that you outed me for this nonsense that you couldn't prosecute me on. But the very stuff you should have maybe prosecuted, and Garland should have prosecuted, and Barr should have prosecuted, or at least fucking investigated, you didn't go out and say anything about that. You had all this evidence that he was in bed with Russia, and you hid that from the American people. You did. Your Republican Party was guilty of it too. And Bill Barr was a piece of shit. He helped Bush's dad, Bush 41, cover up all those criminals in Iran-Contra by issuing pardons. Well, then he got in there and covered up a lot of Trump's crimes, helped Trump do the pardon gate at the end of the Trump administration. And they had a thing on my TV. My brother was watching it, and it was on. I think Showtime had done it. I'm not sure if he was watching it on Showtime or something else, but Showtime had done it, and they were talking about Republicans. And when I find he got kind of defensive because he knows he's got a fucking piece of shit. This is a guy. He wants to keep being a fucking. I don't like labels. I don't give a fuck what you call yourself. You are a fucking cocksucking Republican. That's all there is to it. He keeps voting for these people that would like to see him starving on the street. They don't want to give him. What got me was when the Republicans were fucking around, and it looked like the government might shut down. He literally tried to. He's like, man, do you know if Biden signed that or not? Because if he doesn't, I'm not going to get money this week. Well, and I told him, I really don't know, but I got a feeling he has, and he did. I honestly, I was pretty deep in my foot back then, but I told him, I honestly didn't see that he had signed it. But but my thing was, why are you blaming Biden? Why are you blaming Biden for this? Biden was not the one fucking around with the debt ceiling limit. If you don't get your money, yeah, maybe he didn't sign it, but this is something that should have been on his desk with weeks to spare. And but again, he just dumb fuck Republican wants to blame Democrats for what. And I tried to warn him because they were basically saying, now this was months ago. This would have been like when I find like a week or two after he had asked me, and it was right around the time Biden did sign that. It was right around where the government could have shut down. And I told him, look, going forward, you might want to put a little extra money aside, not spend everything, because the way they're talking, the Republicans might actually fuck around and shut the oh, they're not gonna, blah, blah, blah. All these fucking reasons why the Republicans should not be blamed, and he was a fucking idiot. But again, and I told him, look, this is what some Republicans in the news are saying. This is not me. This is not, this is not me. This is like your Michael Steele's. This is your Nicole Wallace. People that are Republicans. They're saying this, not me. Literally not me. I'm gonna fuck that. Okay. And, but again, trying to warn, but again, he doesn't want to blame the Republicans for and this is why they keep getting elected, because the people out there, for the most part, are too fucking stupid to realize they're the ones causing the fucking problems. And so we get these fucking ill-informed, some of them are mentally defective, some of them are. You take a look at that Mike Lindell guy. This is a guy whose brain was damaged from drug use. There's just no way to get around that. I think he used to do crack cocaine, or I think he did crack cocaine, I think is what he did. Look at that guy. Seriously, look at that guy. Do you really think his brain's functioning on all cylinders? My opinion is no, it's not. But yet, this is what we got going on out there. Holy shit. This was a good load. But yeah, that's what's going on now. And then MSNBC talked about, fuck this shit. MSNBC was talking about monsters in the area. There's no way those fuckers can get to me. I shouldn't have to fucking run away because of that. But they're talking about this stuff, and and they were talking about it recently, even after Barry McCaffrey was on there, about what people are saying, the stuff that's going on Twitter. The stuff. Somebody posted something that was, and I might be wrong, but at a glance, it appeared to be true about Trump. And it would be letting people know the truth. And he said he got blocked from Twitter. They put him on a timeout for what he was doing. Well, when you look at the way Twitter is letting the fake shit get out there, the stuff that is going to cause the next attack, the stuff that is going to cause the next shootout at a pizza place. I made the comment then, and I firmly believe it, that they need to go to court. And they need to start holding the right-wing news and everybody accountable. They need to start holding them accountable. They can't keep spreading these lies and get away with it. I mean, they can't hide behind. I mean, you can't yell fire in a crowded movie house. These are things. There are restrictions on the First Amendment, just like there's restrictions on the Second Amendment. And after January the 6th, after Pizzagate and some of the other stuff, you can go back in history, and this is why it's in the title. In Germany, there was an attack on the Reichstag. Don't quote me on this. You can look it up. I believe it was a government building. And there was an attack on it. And if I'm not mistaken, the Nazi Party did it. And then they blamed it on others. Just to start the war. Because and it was if you watch Star Wars, the thing you may or may not know is the Empire was based off of Nazi Germany. So when they did that prequel where they were, oh my God, we have to vote the Chancellor the emergency powers, and he became the Emperor. That's what happened with the Reichstag fire. But that's what happened with the Reichstag. Then they voted because Germany used to have a chancellor. And they voted the chancellor, and that was Hitler at the time, I think. They voted him in some emergency powers. And that was actually, like, if you watch the first Star Wars movie, Episode 4, ask your grandparents why Episode 4 is the first one. But, where the fuck is that? I don't understand. There was a block. Oh, it must have fallen. That means it would be in the other one. Nope, it didn't come out in here. Well, what the fuck? That block should have fallen in somewhere. In or out, it should have fallen down and the water should have carried it away. Oh well. But no, and there's talk that is eerily similar to World War II. It really is. And if we don't act, you are going to see a recreation of before. Yeah, I'm going to have to go get that. And this is what we got to worry about right now, because you've got people out there that are like somebody posted it today. It was an old picture of a group of women all cheering and waving at Nazis, and they said, I always wondered how Nazism was allowed to flourish and threaten the world, and they showed a group of MAGA supporters, literally the same picture. And they didn't pose for it. They weren't trying to recreate it. It ain't like one of these ones where, oh, well, this dad and his son, or this dad and his family took this picture 20, 30 years ago and they're recreating it today. No, it wasn't one of those. It was just a fucking Trump rally. And they showed it, and you could tell it was identically the same thing. You had delusional people supporting a terrorist, and it's just not good. And we're definitely at risk. Well, the thing I wonder is, because they were saying, like in the news in the last day or two, that Netanyahu was worried about, he was warned, not worried, he was warned about this attack. Kind of like President Bush, W. Bush, 43, was warned about Osama bin Laden. And I don't know if it's true or not. I will admit, I'm on the fence. It could be a conspiracy theory. Maybe it's true. But there is an episode of Babylon 5. Very good series if you got time to watch. Some of the stuff they've done later, not as good. But the original first 3 or 4 seasons were really good. The 5th season, it's worth watching. But I have them on DVD. I don't think I have them on Blu-ray. I think I have them on DVD. Before I got sick, I bought them. And and God, there's a free channel. I don't know if it's Tubi. I don't know if it's Tubi, Pluto, but there's one of them free channels that you can watch. It has commercials, but originally it did anyways on TV. But you can actually watch it for free as long as you have the internet and can watch that channel. You can actually watch it for free. I think it's Tubi, but I'm not sure. But it's one of those free ones like Tubi that if you got Roku or whatever, you can install it and you can watch it. But he talked about, because it was basically they had figured out what the shadows were going to do. And they pretty much had to let the shadows destroy a planet. And there was going to be like 6 million or 6 billion people on it. And they had to let them destroy it. Because if they didn't, the shadows would likely figure out that they had figured out what they were doing and would change tactics. And they might not get another opportunity to actually know ahead of time what they were planning on doing and put a trap in for them. And he said that there were pictures of Churchill after World War II where he went to Coventry, a place that had been bombed severely. And it kind of stood out as a place where Churchill went. And more so than, Dresden was bombed and a whole bunch of other places were bombed. And this was the one that he went to. Dresden might have been Germany. I'm not entirely sure. And the theory that they were pushing in the show, and it is a legitimate theory. You can add conspiracy to it or not, depending on how you feel. But they were pushing that theory that Churchill knew ahead of time that it was going to be bombed, but yet they had big operations coming up. They had cracked Enigma, and the worry was, again, if it's true, I'm not pushing this one way or the other because I honestly don't know, and I honestly feel it could go either way. But if they had acted on it, the Germans might have worried that Enigma had been hacked, and they might have changed their codes. And so he had it on his conscience because that was the decision Sheridan had to make. Do I sacrifice these people to win the war? Because they'll be on my conscience if I let them die. And that's what was going on with it. And there's also talk about World War II D-Day, or not D-Day, Pearl Harbor. There are some, and again, this one here I'm not as sure about as I am. I'm not really sure of Coventry, but I don't feel as strongly about this one as I do the Coventry one. I'm a little less on the fence on this one. But there is some that feel they let Pearl Harbor happen. But the theory on that is they let Pearl Harbor happen to get America on board for the war. And I gotta be honest with you, I've always not been real fond of that theory. But looking at the Republican Party right now not wanting to fund Ukraine, somebody made the comment on social media. They go, we've spent maybe 5% of our military budget, and we have destroyed at least half of Germany's military. They said, the money we spent on Ukraine is the best national security investment we have ever had. You know, for what Ukraine has done. And when I look at it, I kind of look at the people that are in the MAGA party. I look at the people that are in the terrorism caucus in the Capitol. And I start to I'm still kind of on the fence, but I'm a little more on the fence that maybe it was true that they let Pearl Harbor get attacked just so they could drown out the fucking stupid people that wanted to kiss Hitler's ass. Because when you look at World War II, the lead up to Nazi Germany, and you look at what's going on with the people in one party that want to kiss Putin's ass and lick his ball sack, it's scary. Because Hitler didn't have nukes, Putin does. You know, a lot of these people, I mean, when we watched Red Dawn, I think was the name of it, it had Patrick Swayze and a few other people in it. When we watched it, I was in high school when that came out. That's a really old movie. I was in high school. When that came out, it was a real thing. You know, like when I was in grade school, we might have been one of the last ones to do it. We had an old school principal, but we did duck and cover drills when I was in grade school. We didn't do them in junior high. I don't remember doing them in junior high. I don't remember doing them in high school, and I don't think there's a memory lapse there. And like my generation, my class might have been one of the last ones that did that. And but no, it's like that was a real thing. That was a real threat. Worrying about if Russia was going to invade us and whatnot. And you've got these people that are, they claim to be patriots. They are some of the least American people you are ever going to find because they are willing to suck Putin's cock and sell us out. They literally are. And it's really getting scary because these are the same people that attacked the Capitol. These are people that don't think Donald Trump should go to jail. They don't think he should. They think he's still president. They're either that fucking dishonest or they're that fucking stupid. There's just no way to get around it. And I don't know. I literally don't know. But like I look at it now. But the thing I am wondering now, because again, they said Biden was aware of stuff, and I don't know if it's true. It could just be bullshit. They're saying Netanyahu was warned that they were trying to do this. I almost wonder if there is some group out there that pulled the strings on this, again, to basically tamp down on UFO disclosure. Because this now is just more noise getting in the way. So like the call to action, if you're still with me on this, please write your Congress people in Washington and remind them that we have to get Chuck Schumer's amendment attached to the defense authorization bill, and we need Gillibrand and Rubio's amendment attached to the intelligence authorization. We need this disclosure because I don't think it, and again, maybe it's not true. I don't know. I can't speak one way or the other. But maybe it's true that somebody out there is manipulating this. This just happened out of the blue. They just worked out a deal where Iran was going to free up $6 billion of their money for humanitarian reasons. Well, it's pretty clear that Hamas has been in bed with Russia. Or not Russia, Iran. So now they may have fucked up that money deal, and we've already gotten the people out that were, traded, because we haven't given one dime of that money away, and now with them ginning up Hamas to attack Israel, that money might get frozen again. Yeah, it might get frozen again. And the other thing is, could this be Russia? Could Russia, because somebody was putting up pictures of Russian people doing meet and greet handshakes. I think they were in Trump's Oval Office with the leaders of Hamas. They were there with Russia. I believe it was, I don't know for sure, but it looked like it was in the White House. Russia, Hamas, and I think Trump, but Trump was not in the picture that I remember seeing. And you just got to wonder, did Israel let this happen so they could fucking attack? Did Russia gin this up to weaken Biden? Did he do it to take money away from Ukraine and force us to give it to Israel? Well, I don't think we have to do that, but you're going to hear it. And then the thing I heard today, and this was the part that was really scary, Lindsey Graham was talking about how we needed to go in there and blow up Iran's refineries. Back on that neocon thing of, Iran can't produce oil. And he was basically, we need to go in and blow up Iran's refineries. We need to go in there and do regime change. Lindsey Graham, they had a video clip of him doing that. And it's like, oh my God. If the Republicans had supported renewable energy, if the Republicans had supported renewable energy, if the Republicans had supported and it sounds like there is movement on this, but if the Republicans had supported us like a long time ago on getting cars like Brazil has that can run completely on ethanol, like you like and I don't know if it's still that way. I think it still is. You could go to the gas station in Brazil, and you could choose to have pure gas. You could choose to have a hybrid mixture of gas and ethanol. Or you could choose to just have 100% ethanol. And the documentary I was watching where they were talking about this, they go, your fuel rating is not as strong when it's on ethanol, so you'll have to fill up more often because usually when you go, they'll have like one fuel is 87% octane or 87 octane, another one's 90, another one's 92. Well, your pure ethanol has a much lower octane rating, which means you're going to get less miles to the gallon. But he said most people fill up with ethanol because even though you got to fill up a little more often, you're spending way less money. It's way cheaper. Well, if they had done all that, if they had supported renewable energy, if they had supported cleaning up coals or eliminating them, maybe we could do that. That might actually make sense to do it. But it's like the Republican Party, and this was a thing that Ronna McDaniels, the RNC chair, she was reported as saying, "Oh, this is such good news for the Republican Party. The dead Israelis, the dead Americans. This is the fucking shit you're dealing with in the Republican Party." And but my thing when I on Threads was, hey, if the Republicans want to push this shit, they should have been 100% behind renewable energy like Democrats were across the board. And then maybe we could, but the thing is, if they were, we wouldn't have to invade Iran because oil wouldn't be that valuable. As soon as we get off oil, as soon as we basically find ethanol and other stuff to run on and we don't need their oil, we can let them starve. They'll be like Palestine. They will be over there. They will need handouts and goodwill from everybody else. All we have to do for national security is make oil less valuable. And the only way we can do that is to quit using it. That's literally the only way we can do it, is to quit using it. And Russia will be affected. Iran will be affected. And it's not a short-term strategy, but I made the comment, I go, if Lindsey Graham and the other Republicans want to harm America, they got to wait until they're back in office. You don't get to, because it basically fuck up our economy. If we went in there and stopped them making oil prices would go up. Do you want to pay $6 for a gallon of gas? I don't. I can't. I have trouble affording what we got now. I don't want to go in there and have to start spending more money on gas. So we just got to say no to the dumbfuck caucus in Washington and keep, let them sell oil. Because one, we don't know. It sounds like they're looking at, but we honestly don't know. I would say that Russia is probably just as likely to be the ones in this as Iran. If Iran did it, they really fucked themselves because that money's going to probably get clamped down again. So I don't know, but that really got me worried. But I asked MSNBC, I go, could you please have your military generals and your historians, I don't know if they're going to do it, but I go, can you please have them talk more about the Reichstag fire and and what's going on now, because it really looks like the Republicans are trying to gin this up. It really, really does. Peace out, and I hope everybody has a great day. Oh, and if you're watching this on YouTube, please spank the shit out of that like button, and have a good day. Peace out.